To be or not to be, to some, the truth may sting. Earlier this year, Bee Informed Partnership and the Apiary Inspectors of America surveyed 5,000 beekeepers who reported that 33% of their bees had died between April 2016 and April 2017. Although the number of bees was lower than the last 10 years, it's still a devastating amount considering bees pollinate 70% of our food crops worldwide and, according to Greenpeace, 80% of all pollination worldwide. Now, 33% doesn't sound like a lot, but imagine losing 33% of your family. It probably may seem less important because, after all, they are just bees. But bees are actually responsible for pollinating most fruits, vegetables, and nuts, and producing what I like to call liquid gold, otherwise known as honey. Today, I will not only tell you why it's important to save the bees, but how you can contribute. It's a lot easier than you'd think. Now, onto that truth I was talking about. We can actually save the bees. I'd like to cover why you should because we need everyone's help to do it. It may seem trivial to some to entertain the idea of saving bees considering most people see them as a nuisance, but a lot of our lifestyle actually depends on bees. Now you may be thinking, how does my lifestyle depend on bees? For starters, as I stated before, bees are responsible for pollinating 70% of our food crops, and if their populations continue to drop, that could mean a shortage or even the end of things like almond milk, sunflowers, and even prickly pear, which happens to be a key ingredient in my favorite drink, prickly pear lemonade. Bees just happen to be responsible for pollinating lemons too. Now, I don't know about you, but almond milk is pretty important to me considering 50% of my household is lactose intolerant. As stated in the information pamphlet distributed by the NRDC, National Defense Resources Council, every year California almond growers must import honeybees from the other states to pollinate their $2.3 billion a year crop, using about half of all the honeybees in the United States. I'd like to read now an excerpt from that same pamphlet published by the NRDC in 2011. It's titled, Why We Need Bees, Nature's Tiny Workers Put Food on Our Tables. Bees Keep Our Economy Humming. More than $15 billion a year in U.S. crops are pollinated by bees, including apples, berries, cantaloupes, cucumbers, alfalfa, and almonds. U.S. honeybees also produce about $150 million in honey annually. But fewer bees means the economy takes a hit. The global economic cost of the bee decline, including lower crop yields and increased production costs, has been estimated at as high as $5.7 billion a year. Keeping bee populations safe is critical for keeping American tables stocked with high-quality produce and our agricultural sector running smoothly. Now, back on the subject of liquid gold that I mentioned earlier. Honey has been proven to be a valuable resource on its own and is used for a lot of things from sweeteners to beauty products and even in a lot of different medicines. I know I have a few things in my house that are made with honey, including this cold medicine for my son. And I always have at least 2 varieties of honey in my house. Here's one from Montana. In fact, honey has been in use by all sorts of people for at least 2,700 years. Although honey is said to have antibacterial properties, there are actually no studies to support it. But according to Savar Israeli, a professor at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, clinical studies have demonstrated that application of honey to severely infected cutaneous wounds rapidly clears infection from the wound and improves in tissue healing. We still have yet to unlock all the mysteries that honey holds for us, and we might never be able to if honeybees keep dying at an alarming rate. Now, I've told you why we should save the bees, so let's get to the how. One of the main contributors to the decline in bee populations is loss of habitat. Now, of course, things like developments and new construction play a factor in that, but so do people who spray beehives with hoses. If you find a hive near your home, rather than drenching it, call a local beekeeper instead. You can find beekeepers almost anywhere, and they can be easily located by a simple Google search for beekeepers in your area. You can also save the bees by reducing use of dangerous pesticides and by actively participating to ban dangerous chemicals that go in those pesticides. Also found in the bee pamphlets I mentioned earlier, distributed by the NRDC, many pesticides banned by other countries because they harm bees are still available in the United States. I don't know about you, but that sounds extremely concerning to me. Things don't just get a countrywide ban for no reason. Now, granted, there are some silly things like that may slip through the cracks, but this is an incredibly serious and ongoing issue. Lastly, you can always support your local beekeepers and farmers by purchasing their products and honey or by spreading the good word. After all, nowadays money is almost a surefire motivator. Support local businesses and support local bees. A wise man once said, "Save the bees." Now, I don't know who first said it, but more people should be saying it every day. The way I see it, there are basically only two types of people in the world. Those who care about bees and those who doesn't. Now I want you to ask yourself, what kind of person are you? So today we've gone over why bees are important in regards to pollination for 70% of our food crops, again 80% of pollination worldwide, and honey, which brings in about $150 million in the US alone annually. We've also gone over how you can contribute to saving the bees. Now the real test awaits you. Are you ready to save some bees?